So Paul, we're just on the eve of the new season. What are your thoughts going into it?
I'm excited. I think every time you get through a pre-season, it kind of gets to the point where you just want it to get started. And I think from a squad point of view, there'll still be a couple of changes, I think, between now and the window closing. But ultimately, being happy with business we've done. A little frustrated that a couple of lads have picked up injuries, but that happens. With the best will in the world, I'll be amazed if every team hasn't got some injuries to contend with, and that'll continue throughout the season. You're just trying to limit it for as much as you can. So there's a couple of lads not quite, either won't be available or maybe not quite up to speed. But overall, like I said, excited. We know it's going to be a tough campaign. I think the league, I think it's not just myself saying it, I think everyone can near enough see it who follows football. It's a really competitive league too. So we're going to have to improve, if we're going to try and close that gap that we had last season in terms of what's above us, which will always be the aim. And whatever, wherever we lie in terms of status, budget, etc., you still want to do as well as you can. And for me, I want to try and see if we can improve on last season, but I know full well that will be difficult, but we're going to give it its best shot. And like I said, happy with the squad that we've put together. Truly believe it's better than it was last season, respectfully to the players that have kind of moved on, that were part of last season. So yeah, let's see how we go.
And this pre-season compared to last pre-season, have you noticed the benefits of having a longer summer?
Yeah, look, I being out there, that I said I felt myself and a lot of the staff needed that break. I think it did, honestly feel like we almost had 2 seasons rolled into one. The promotion was fantastic, but how long or how late we finished, and then you come back very quickly. I think we were ready for a break, and we had the FA Cup run, which again was fantastic, but in terms of a second half of the season, we hardly had any time, and you just game to game, it was hard to get any kind of breather within that. So the summer was nice, the work still continues to a degree, but that's as staff and some of the players that have been involved with us over that period, again, I think they were ready for that breather. And a kind of more normal pre-season build-up that we've had. I've been quite pleased that it hasn't felt like it's dragged too much though. I think sometimes in the past it's felt like it's just gone on and on, whereas I think having a lot of new players to work with, also getting the break in Spain as well, and the training camp there and a couple of games, that just broke it up nice. And like I said, it's been good, but all ready for the season to start now.
And you mentioned about the competitive nature of League Two this season. We've got big teams coming from the National League as well, Wrexham, Notts County, and then a couple of big teams coming down from League One as well. So who, in your mind, Paul, is going to be who are going to be the teams to watch this season?
Well, I think obviously we don't bet, we're not allowed, and it's not really my thing anyway, but if you look at the favourites, I think it's really interesting that certainly the last time I looked, it was Stockport, who we came up with, Notts County and Wrexham, the 2 teams that came up last season. So I think that's we're kind of the outsiders of that group, but we've seen firsthand, we experienced playing against them, and they will start as the favourites. But I think then you've got people like MK Dons that have come down, and again you're in the business, you're speaking to agents, and sometimes maybe sort of figures are blown out of proportion a little bit, but in general you get to know what people are paying and things like that, and there's some big money. I think it's not just me saying it, I think a League One manager publicly said it recently, and then I think the chief exec chairman of a club as well, about how that's made it very, very difficult for League One clubs because of the money that's floating around in the league below, which is obviously ours. But I think there's probably 12, 13, 14 teams that will all, truly believe that they've got an opportunity of getting promoted, whether that's automatically or whether that's through the playoffs. So that shows, the difficulty of the task ahead. But at the same time, I think we've improved, as I've said, and if we can keep people fit, if we can perform how I believe that the group can, then I don't think we're going to, give teams an easy ride. And internally, we're always going to push and strive to be successful. So, looking forward to pitting ourselves against the teams that are, very much fancied, and we've got a lot of them in that opening 7 or 8 games. So it'll be a difficult start, and I don't know if it's a good or a bad time to play them. You can always look at it in different ways. In some, if you're looking on a positive slant, maybe they haven't had the time to get in a real sort of run. Maybe they've got some new players gelling. Obviously, that certainly applies to ourselves. But what there will be is some really tough games to look forward to, but also, some really good atmospheres. I think, I've seen how many tickets we've sold for Notts County's first away game, for example. Obviously, some great memories in the not too distant past. So looking forward to that, and yeah, you want to be involved in big games, and I think we've got some of those very, very quickly. And then how well we do will determine, how big games are as we progress.
Looking immediately to the first game, is it fair to say that game against Wimbledon will be a bit different to the one at the end of last season here?
Yeah, I think so. I was pleased we won, and it was a nice day for Sean. But it very much had that end of season feel. It's strange how the fixture list throws it up. Doesn't seem that long ago sat in there with Johnny Jackson and his staff, and I have to say, really sort of good guys. Had a good chat. I think everyone was pleased it got to the end of the season, have a bit of a breather, bit of a rebuild. But strange how we then get them first game. They've obviously had an excellent pre-season in terms of their results, what they've had. I think they're unbeaten, so they'll be confident coming up to us. But it's the first day. Nothing's decided on that first day. But what I would say, I'll be the same as every other manager across all the leagues. You want to try and get off to a winning start. It takes that monkey off the back, so to speak, of waiting to get that first victory. Because if it does progress, it can build that pressure. We spoke about it before. Just builds very, very quickly. So it'd be great if we could get off to a winning start. But that Johnny and his club will be thinking exactly the same.
And what's your message to the Grimsby fans before the season starts?
I think there's a lot of optimism around, and I hope that is played out. We've had the open day and spoke to quite a few fans, and a lot of them is telling me that they think we're going to win the league, and I've said that's great. You can't beat a bit of optimism. But yeah, I think as always, you just want people to get behind the players, get behind the football club as a whole, and I think they've certainly done that. The last couple of seasons, I think, have had their own moments. They've been fantastic, and I'm not criticising when I say this, but I sometimes feel you can very quickly take things for granted. We've had 2 seasons with some amazing experiences that some fans at some clubs won't have experienced for the last maybe 20 years or so, and obviously there's some that have. But I feel like, even as manager, very fortunate. A lot of the experiences that I've had at this football club, and some have been heartache, but a lot of the bad moments have still been in big games, so there's been a lot of good before that. So my certainly relationship with this football club has been, like I say, I feel very, very fortunate, and I hope that there's some more big days ahead as we move forward. As always, all I will ever promise is that certainly myself, the staff, will be demanding of the players. We want to push them. We want to try to get everyone overachieving. and bringing out their best all the time. Sometimes it'll look like that, and other times I'm sure people will be upset, and that includes us. But all I will say, again, is we'll give us all. Anything that we achieve will be through hard work, and if we don't achieve, it won't be through the lack of hard work, and that's all I can promise.
And greater together as well, which is the club's motto.
Of course, and that's genuine. I think, again, when I was here the first time, I had some really good times, but there was certainly odd spells where it didn't feel like that we were all together, whereas the last couple of seasons, I think it's been very few and far between where we've had any kind of fracture, and that just shows when everyone is pulling together and understanding, because it's not always going to be plain sailing. I'll be honest, it'd be boring if it was. I think you sometimes have to go through a bit of adversity to then enjoy the good moments, because we're in professional sport, and every Saturday you're coming up against a team or midweek that they want to win as well, and not everyone can be happy all the time, unfortunately. So as we talk about, when you look at the start of a season, we've said about how many teams will genuinely have those ambitions of getting promoted. We know when it comes down to it, only 4 teams from our league can get promoted, so there's a lot of disappointing teams behind that. But that doesn't mean you still can't have success. Success isn't simply getting promoted, but it is the ultimate goal. Of course it is. And like I said, I've experienced that a couple of times, and the fans have while I've been here, and would love to experience it again. And then the FA Cup run last year, creating a bit of history. And I'm not sure, every now and again, I think back, and someone said to me the other day, you reached quarter-final FA Cup in last season. It just sounds ridiculous, but we did. And when you see the teams that were still involved in that stage of the competition, it was unbelievable, really. I'm not sure it still will be properly look back on it for myself until maybe I've left the football club at some stage. Hopefully that's not anytime soon, but something that was a fantastic experience. It'd be tough to have that again, and I'm sure when the FA Cup comes round again we'll be talking about that. But we just want to have some, we speak about making memories, and that's what this is about, getting people together again with the open day, seeing the sort of families that turn up, friends. A lot of it is the kids, but at the same time, the older generation that have seen so much football here. We want to create some memories that go along with maybe some from the past, so hopefully we can do that.